Welcome everyone to another episode of Tutorial Tuesday. It is week number 15, 2019. I'm glad that you're along with us. We're just on the heels of branding season, so I'll make this quick. Couple of announcements. Announcement number one, if you haven't yet gotten into April's photography challenge, I want you to swipe over, read the rules, send me your images for the April photography challenge. Announcement number two, my workshop for September is completely full, so I've stopped taking registrations for that. If you want to get on a waiting list, go ahead and send me an email at chris@cdphotog.com and I'll get you on a waiting list. Let's get right into your questions. I have to agree with you. My clients are absolutely 100% awesome, so thank you for that. Here's what I would tell you. After 10 years of doing this, nothing you do isn't marketing. Did I say that right? Everything you do is marketing. So from advertising on social media, if that's what you do, or maybe run a print ad, or even shaking hands and giving business cards, taking jobs that other people wouldn't do to create connections, everything you do is marketing. For me, this question comes down to a couple things. Number one, what's a story that I'm trying to tell? And number two, what are the conditions like outside? So is it a bright, cloudless day, or is it totally overcast? I'll use different settings. So if it's bright and sunny out, I'm probably going to be at 1/2500th of a second, shooting at f4 and ISO 100. But if it's cloudy, those settings are going to be completely different. The answer is it depends. It depends on my client, it depends on the intended use of the image. But generally speaking, I'm at JPEG quality of 85 with 3000 pixels on the long edge and 300 ppi. I have two camera bodies. One is a Canon 5D Mark III and one is a Canon 5D Mark IV. My favorite lens creatively is the 16 to 35, and my favorite workhorse lens is a 70 to 200. Hey, look, I have a lot of colleagues that use back button focusing. It's something that I tried a handful of times, and it just never stuck with me. It doesn't fit my style of shooting, but I know a lot of people do, and at the end of the day, you have to do what works for you. This is a good question. Sometimes it depends on the mood I'm in, but generally speaking, I don't necessarily like to shoot wide open. I'm not that kind of photographer that goes out looking for the most blurry background I can find. I like the clarity of f4, but on the other hand, at 2.8, I may have to use that if I'm shooting a wedding and I need as much available light in down through the lens as possible. So it really depends, again, on the story that I'm telling and the mood that I'm in. What makes a great beard stand out from an average one? I have no idea, Russ. I'll just say one that's fully grown. I don't know. This is a good question too, and one that I've addressed several times. I'm going to direct you over to my blog where I wrote a post about that, and it's something that you definitely need to take into account, especially in these environments. This question comes in via direct message, and the user's asking, they want to get into photography and they want some recommendations on equipment while not sacrificing budget, but also taking into consideration the elements that they're going to be riding or hiking into. So my recommendation first is look at a mid-range camera and something that's going to be waterproof. Those are decent and they're versatile cameras. They're more like a point and shoot, but you'll be well protected no matter what. Canon, Olympus, Nikon, just a few off the top of my head that make those. You're going to spend $300 to $600. Image quality is going to be decent for you no matter what. That's the first range. The second would be this. If you really want to get into that, the professional series, let's say, the DSLRs with the interchangeable lenses, what you'll want to do to minimize the impact on your budget is go visit my friends over at keh.com and look at buying some used equipment. It's not going to be as budget intensive on you, and you'll still get superior image quality from some of the bodies that you can buy. Taking those out no matter what, even when I go out and I'm riding and I have those strapped on, it still goes through my mind that, I have nearly $10,000 worth of equipment riding on my shoulders, and if the horse stumbles, if I fall off or something goofy like that, I'm out. So I have to take that into account when I go out. I have padded saddlebags that for longer trips that I can put my equipment in. So I hope that helps you. Take a look. A real simple answer to this question is you can control the volume of light traveling through your lens that hits the sensor by our f-stop. So f2.8 would be represented by this, and this would be 5.6. So looking at these examples, what we'd see is f2.8 allows more light to travel through than f5.6, so you're restricting more light with this. But creatively, that also has a big difference on our images. So creatively, when you're shooting, while you may allow so much light down your lens with f2.8, what you're doing is you don't have as much depth of field or as much sharpness in your image. But with 5.6, you will. Like a lot of the best things, I actually stumbled on these padded saddlebags. I think they're made by Trail Max, and I bought them at a used tax sale. While they are padded, I added my own padding as well, and you can't go wrong by adding more. Yep, this is a good question. Thanks for asking it. Primarily, I'm on the ground, and I would say 15% of the time, maybe 20% of the time, I'll be on horseback when warranted. But most of the time, I'll either have a range or a quad or just sitting in a branding pen. This question came via direct message, and after reading it, you can see essentially what they're asking is what my recommendation is for achieving this kind of look. And I would say this right off the bat. What I'm looking for, if I'm not strictly doing portraits, I wouldn't bring a black background, but what I would be looking for is a longer barn and make sure that all ambient light is turned off. Any doorway, no matter what, even in my studio here as I look out the door, any kind of doorway is going to funnel light in, and it's going to create directional light for us. Of course, it's up to us to see that, but with that specific kind of portrait, especially with a horse and rider, and I'll show you an example here in a second, what I would be looking for is a very long barn, long riding arena, make sure all ambient lights are off, and then I would be metering for just about 3 to 5 feet inside of the doorway. And that's where I'd set my exposure. And then I would probably use a combination of Photoshop to darken out that background. So let me go ahead and show you that example I was talking about. So to finish up this question, what I would recommend is first exposing for the light that's coming in that barn door area, and then second, use a combination of Photoshop and Lightroom to darken that down, or whatever editing programs you use. So hope that helps you.